Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for today's Mobile Cause webinar, Grow Your Donor Base with Crowdfunding. We're grateful to have some terrific speakers and all of you joining us today. A couple of quick housekeeping notes. We are recording this webinar, and we will be sending out a link to view, watch, and share the webinar, along with a copy of the slides to all of you via email. So in case you miss anything, would like to share with a colleague, we encourage you all to do so. You all will also be seeing the chat on the lower left, so if you have any questions, feel free to type your questions into the chat. They will go directly to all of the presenters. So we will do our best to capture all of your questions, get to all of them, as many of them as we can. We will have a roundtable discussion at the end of the webinar, about 10 minutes to 15 minutes worth at the end of our presentation today. So please do submit your questions. We've got some great speakers and a lot of great content. So here's our brief agenda. We're going to be talking about how to reach millennial and Gen X donors, top 3 ways nonprofits can use crowdfunding and are doing so right now. We have crowdfunding secrets for success with Salvador Brigman, some proven strategies with Tori Vore from Lighthouse Family Retreat, some social media crowdfunding tips with our own Lindsay Newman, and again, our Q&A session with the experts at the end. So thanks everybody for joining today. As I said, we've got some great speakers lined up, and I'm looking forward to talking to all of them and having all of you hear from their expertise and insight. And so because we have so much great content, I want to kick it off immediately and introduce my colleague, Jeremy Koenig, who's the creative director and product designer. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thanks, Chris, and thank you, everyone, for joining this webinar. Our heart is that you'd be able to take a couple of things away that could truly transform your nonprofit's ability to raise donations and gain new donors this year immediately. I want to kick off this webinar by just really defining what crowdfunding for nonprofits is. Crowdfunding for nonprofits is different than traditional crowdfunding for profit in that you're not trying to raise money to start something, but you're actually trying to raise money for a specific cause. We have it defined as the best way to gain new donors. Volunteers, advocates, celebrities, and corporations can raise donations from friends and family using their own peer-to-peer fundraising pages shared across social media, text message, and email. Did you know 5 out of 8 donors are new to each organization, and the average individual collects $612? Absolutely incredible. So how do we reach millennial and Gen X donors, and who are millennial and Gen X donors? Okay, today's donors are different. Everyone on the call that works as a fundraiser recognizes that millennials, age 35 and down, and Gen X, age 50 and down, hardly ever write checks, are more and more often not carrying cash. They tend to avoid phone calls, they rarely respond to emails, and they tend to throw out direct mail without even looking at it. And we believe here at Mobile Cause, and we believe that this trend has been shown across America, is that the way that you engage these people consistently is on their smartphone. It's not that these demographics are not generous. It's not that these demographics don't want to be involved in your organization. Simply stated, mobile and online solutions are the absolute #1 way to engage these demographics successfully. Reaching millennial donors. If you didn't know this, millennial donors recently, as of 2016, have surpassed baby boomers as the largest generation in America. And amazingly, by 2020, which is 4 years away, they will be 50% of the U.S. workforce. And by 2025, which is just 9 years away, they will be 75% of the workforce. And so that being said, the way that I believe nonprofits should think about fundraising is that 75% of your donors are going to be based in these 2 groups. Some details we have here is millennials specifically, these are donors between the ages of 18 and 35. They respond best to text messages and social media. They very rarely respond to personal email or voice calls, and they tend to watch videos online before making a gift, and they prefer to donate from the convenience of their phone. Quite a few studies have come out that have actually have concluded that a millennial's favorite way to donate is through a crowdfunding campaign from a peer that asks them. Okay, reaching Generation X donors. Generation X combined with millennials make up 2/3 of the workforce today. This is incredible. And so again, I cannot emphasize enough how imperative it is for your nonprofit to do things that make it very easy for people to give and stay connected from their mobile device. These donors, they unlike millennials, they check email regularly, but also like millennials, they stay up to date on social media feeds. They also prefer to receive communication by text message. And again, making online and mobile solutions easy is vital for them. All right, next up. The top 3 ways we see here at Mobile Cause nonprofits using crowdfunding right now. I believe that everybody that's on this call can relate to one of these 3 categories and can start using crowdfunding to gain new donors immediately. The first is alumni engagement. When you think about crowdfunding in terms of alumni engagement, think about people who have been positively affected or they are connected to your organization. These are the people that are the alumni of whatever you do, whether you provide healthcare or youth development or education. If people have been positively affected by what you do, they are primed and ready to become fundraisers on your behalf. The second way people are crowdfunding is fun events, specifically run, walk, swims, and rides. There is a whole generation of millennial and Gen X donors that absolutely want to go out and do something really, really cool for a cause. Crowdfunding makes it incredibly easy for them to not only make donations, but raise donations with peer-to-peer fundraising pages. And the idea is that across social media, text message, and email, these campaigns can absolutely become viral, and nonprofit organizations can have more donors and grow their donor database at a pace that's never been seen before. The third way that we see crowdfunding being used successfully out in the nonprofit world in America is service projects, missions, and trips. There are hundreds of people at each one of your nonprofits that are connected to your nonprofits that they personally want to go out and do good, and they need to be able to raise the funds needed to do that all around the world. So whether you're going to serve at a medical clinic in a foreign country, or you're helping to provide sports camps for kids in your local community. Those things all cost money, and crowdfunding allows you to put the most powerful mobile fundraising tools in the hands of every single person that wants to physically give their time and energy to go and grow your cause. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Chris to introduce our next speaker.
Thanks, Jeremy. Great stuff. So again, a reminder to everyone, if you have any questions, on anything that you hear in the webinar, anything Jeremy just presented, or anything you're about to hear, feel free to type those questions into the chat. We are capturing them, and we will get to them, as many of them as we can. Also, if you have any audio issues, again, you can choose to switch to dial in by phone. Sometimes dialing in by phone, you get a lot better audio quality, so you may want to try that. And also, again, a final reminder, we are recording the webinar. So if you miss anything or want to share with a colleague, look for that link that you will get via email along with a copy of the slides. So thanks, Salvador Brigman. I'd like to introduce him. He's the founder of CrowdCrux. Welcome, Salvador. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, everyone. It's great to be on this webinar. And yes, I run the blog crowdcrux.com. I also run the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. And the reason I wanted to come on this webinar, aside from the fact that I'm really passionate about crowdfunding, is just to talk to a group of people who are also as passionate about changing the world in some way. And this is what everything is about, the techniques I'm going to be sharing, the techniques that we're sharing on this webinar. It's really going to enable you to do more good in the world. And that's just a very virtuous circle. And to give you one other point of my story, I am also in that millennial demographic. So really, I'm sharing how to market to me and my friends, the people that you're really trying to search for. These are the millennials that you're trying to market to. So I'm going to give you the inside scoop on how to do that. The first thing I want to say is that there is a very big difference between a crowdfunding campaign and peer-to-peer fundraising. And I'm going to break down the differences here. So let's first talk peer-to-peer fundraising. Peer-to-peer fundraising, you might have heard of this from Relay for Life. With a peer-to-peer fundraising campaign, you're going to have an overall arching cause, maybe to raise money for cancer. And your core donors, the core donors on your email list, the core donors that you've been working to attract in the last several months, they're going to be raising funds from their social network, from their friends, from their family, from their local community. They're really doing all of the work on your behalf to move that overall fundraising meter. And the reason that I make that distinction is because the time spent in the preparation stages preparing for the launch of this online crowdfunding campaign is different from peer-to-peer fundraising to crowdfunding. So with peer-to-peer fundraising, your entire focus is going to be on educating those core donors, not just educating about your story, but really about ways to go out there, to talk with their friends, to share this story with their family, and templates to share this message on social media, how to really solicit donations from their local community, maybe templates to put up some kind of a banner somewhere. You're giving them the tools and resources and support that they need to solicit donations from their crowd. And that's why I make that distinction, because so much of your time is going to be putting into educating, hand-holding your donors. And really, you should be obviously having meetings leading up to the launch with this core group of donors, answering questions, so that when they go out into the field, they don't run around like chickens with no heads. They're not lost. They really know exactly what to say. They know exactly how to approach the fundraising process. With crowdfunding is a bit different. And the reason here is that your focus is going to be on marketing. Your focus is not on educating as much. Your focus is on getting the word out to your donors, your existing donor base, and also people that might be interested outside of your donor base. Soliciting strangers on Facebook. These are people online that can connect with who you are, what you do, what your mission is, and decide to give money and support your crowdfunding campaign. And that campaign could be for a cause, it could be for a very specific project, but ultimately it should be in some way moving forward your organization's mission. And we think a lot about strangers online. All these people here on this webinar, we like to think of them as numbers, as visitors, as statistics, but really they are human beings. And human beings don't connect as much with information as they connect with stories. So the way that you're going to be, one, sort of a two-step process. One, you have to get people's attention. Two, you have to make them care about what it is you're doing. And you're going to be creating a library of assets to make people care. That's going to be your overall campaign text, the copywriting on that campaign page, the images that you're using to elicit emotion, to have people connect with your organization, a pitch video. The video is going to be used to really engender a sense of empathy so that people understand, connect, and realize the problem that you're trying to solve. And also, we all know that videos do have much more of a tendency to go viral than text. You're going to be using all of these assets to create an emotional connection with those strangers or those website visitors and really befriending them. You're letting them into your world. You're first showing them, obviously, why it is that you care so much, why it is you're so passionate about this initiative, but then you're giving them the chance to really connect with those people that you're helping. We don't connect with abstract things like, let's give money to Africa, let's give money to a poor nation. We don't connect with that. We connect with other people. The stories of that little girl in Africa who, with this money, is now going to be able to go to her school, which is 3 miles away, and get a better education. That's what we connect with. So this is going to be at the forefront of your marketing for your crowdfunding campaign. And I'm also going to talk about a few more things that you can do to really get someone's attention and then get them to care about your campaign in the next slide. So let's move this slide here. And you guys can also
hey, Salvador,
read
this is, great stuff. So I just want to just dive in real quick and ask you a couple of questions that I think will help people. How do you determine which way to go, whether it's crowdfunding or peer-to-peer? Do you have any thoughts on, how everybody listening might figure out which one to do?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. And I do want to underscore here that this is not for you to gain 100% of a new donor base. You've never done any kind of fundraising before. You've never created a donor list before. This is for if you already have some kind of a small donor list. So I think that the biggest difference here is, one, your ability to educate your donors. So you have to have a very core set of donors if you want to do a peer-to-peer fundraising campaign. You don't need as much of a core set if you're doing a crowdfunding campaign, but you obviously, as I'm going to talk about next, have to get them to pledge, them to get that meter moving on your crowdfunding campaign just to get other people interested. The other thing I would say is whether you're doing a cause or doing some kind of a campaign, that is not, the donors don't have to be in the same location that you are. I think that peer-to-peer fundraising is amazing if the donors are all in the same location, like a Relay for Life initiative. This is all an event. Everyone's going to go out and solicit donations from their network, from the local community, and then everyone attends this singular event. That's really powerful because these are the people that already know the best places. Where do people go on a Friday night? Where do people go on a Thursday night? They can put up some kind of a billboard or a poster. I think that's a big difference there. Whereas with crowdfunding, all of the donors can be around the world. They don't necessarily need to be doing it locally. But I'd say that's another big difference there.
Right. And now in terms of like assets, I mean, obviously, you're going to want to create assets for both crowdfunding as well as peer-to-peer. But tell us the difference. Like in one case, the crowdfunding assets are going to be used for marketing directly to your donor base and new donors, and assets for peer-to-peer are really going to be used to provide those that are going to be using those assets. Is that right? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. I think the way you could think about this is even motivating your employees. I mean, it's your job as a business owner running a nonprofit to motivate and get your employees excited about doing a particular job. So that you're going to be making two sets of assets for the peer-to-peer fundraising. First, you're going to be getting people excited about doing this work on your behalf, about the cause, about actually introducing this to their local or social network. The second is the actual assets that they can use. So maybe a cover photo for their Facebook page, copywriting or good text that they can use when they're sharing or posting a status update on Facebook. I think these kinds of assets really help people so that when they come to their Facebook, they're like, well, I don't really know what to say. If you have those kind of assets made for them, it's going to make it a lot easier for them to do the work on your behalf. And you can get really creative. It could be quotes for Instagram. It could be images that they can post on their Pinterest page. You really have to think of what social networks do your donors use and what social networks do their friends use to really answer that question, I think, more.
Right. And so would you say then it's really, when you're thinking about assets, it's sort of a two-step process in the sense of, one, what are all the channels, like you said, social networks and other vehicles that you're going to use, even if it's printed material that you're going to give to people, right? What are all of those various assets that you're going to need? And then it's about like really the story, the message that you're going to be delivering on those assets. Some of them are meant to, like you said, excite your peers into participating in the crowdfunding campaign and asking everyone else. And then secondly, get actual donors to be involved in your cause, right? And so maybe we can talk a little bit about, like you have some great insight on the psychological motivators that are the best way to inspire us. So maybe talk a little bit about these that are on the slide here.
Yeah, I'd love to. And the first thing I'd like to preface here is that the reason I'm sharing some of these motivators is because they can really don't use them for nefarious purposes. We look at some of these motivators, and in some ways they're kind of like Jedi mind tricks. So you should only be using these if you have a really worthy cause. But the first thing, and I think a lot of people don't think about this, is social pressure or social proof. And what is social proof? So social proof is you look into the window of a restaurant, there's no one there, you're not going to check out the restaurant because no one's there. There must be something weird about it, the food must not be good, or it just doesn't look like any fun. The same thing happens when you come to a crowdfunding campaign. If there are 0 donors, there is 0 activity, you are far less likely to give money to that campaign or that organization if no one else is giving money. And the reason there is you're actually going to come up with some kind of idea in your head. Maybe this isn't really a worthy cause. Why would I spend 5 minutes watching the video? Or maybe there's something that I haven't seen that's really weird about this campaign. Why has no one else given money? And you click off. But if there are a bunch of people that have talked about this campaign, that have given money, maybe 1 or 2 of your friends have given money, you're going to look at that social signal and be like, hey, look, my friend just gave money to this organization. What's this ALS thing? Or, hey, my friend just gave money and they really like this video. I'm going to take a second to watch it. When there's some kind of social proof, it makes you more coerced or more likely to check out that campaign. The first part, attention, and then obviously you have to have a great campaign and great assets to make that person care about whatever it is you're trying to get them to care about. But the other thing is, if we do have an identity, let's just say we care about saving the whales, and our friends also care about that, and we see that our friends who care about the same thing we do have given money to this specific charity, this specific crowdfunding campaign, we're more likely to check it out and go and do that. And the reason is because if we do feel, we do care about saving the whales, why would we not? It's sort of a little bit of social pressure, but it's the socially acceptable thing to do in that situation. So that's one thing. The other thing is, I think millennials, myself included, we really want to see impact for our dollars. We want to see the actual return on investment or results from giving money to a campaign. And that's why crowdfunding is so powerful, because it is for a specific project, because there are updates. You can get notifications about how this money is in some way moving this cause forward. So I think that one of the major reasons why people decide to give online is because the impact is more traceable than giving to this broad fund. It could even be for a good cause like cancer, but giving to this broad fund doesn't elicit that same emotion like, hey, like I'm really excited. I feel like a good person for doing this. The person is obviously grateful who started this organization or campaign. I feel good about myself. But if we're just giving to an abstract cause, we don't have that same emotional, positive, warm feeling. So underscoring what this campaign is going to do, or what this money, what this donation does, I think is really going to help more people want to give to your campaign. We already talked about storytelling and how that creates empathy. The other thing I'd like to say is scarcity. And most campaigns that are launched online have a specific start and end date. And by that you mean there's a fundraising duration. Let's just say it's 30 days. It could be 45 days. But there's a specific amount of time that people have to give money or have the chance to give money to impact this cause. And the reason that that's important is because I don't know about you, but I have lots of messages in my social media feed. I have lots of things on my to-do list. I'm a busy young professional. The priority list for me, giving money to this campaign, is probably going to be number 10 or number 11. But when there's that time component, it really creates a sense of urgency. Really, I can only think about this for a few days. I only have a limited amount of time to be able to give money, get my donation in, and it goes from priority number 11 up to priority number 3. So it's more likely that that person is going to actually take action. And the last thing I'll say here, before feel free to ask me any more questions to clarify, is there have been studies out there that if you want someone to do something really big, like giving to a campaign they've never heard of, giving to an organization they've never heard of, it's really easy if you get them to do something small first. That small thing could be liking a video. It could be following you on Facebook. It could be subscribing to your email list. There's been a study that if you want to make some kind of change, let's just say we want to have people be safer drivers, and you go to someone and you ask, can you put this sticker in your window just that underscores that you support safe driving? Of course I would, yeah. I mean, obviously I support safe driving. But if you then came back to that person and asked a larger request, let's just say putting some kind of a poster or putting something on their lawn, which is a bit of a larger request. You're modifying your lawn to your house. That person is more likely to say yes if they first complied with the small request. And the reason there is they then now think of themselves as supporting safe driving. And we like to be consistent with the things we care about or how we think about ourselves. And if we were to say no, it's like, well, do I really not care about safe driving? It looks bad on you that you aren't firm in your convictions. You look wishy-washy. There's a lot of cognitive dissonance is the word in psych. So by having your donors or these strangers online making some kind of a small action before asking this big thing to support your campaign, they're more likely to. And that small thing could be liking some kind of motivational quote. It could be just agreeing that this is something that should have more attention. It could be a video just to spread awareness. But once you create that relationship initially, it's going to be a lot easier to get them to take action on larger requests.
Fantastic, Salvador.
But I'd love it if you have any more questions, or we have a lot of other great stuff on this webinar. So,
thank you so much. Yeah, great stuff. And everyone, if you have additional questions for Salvador, please do submit them via the chat. We will also make Salvador's contact information available, so if you have questions specifically for him, you can reach out to him directly. So now I'm going to transition to our next speaker, Tori Vore from the Lighthouse Family Retreat. She is the Family Partner Manager. Tori, welcome. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, Chris. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to share about this that has worked so well for us at Lighthouse. So just to give you a little bit of a brief overview of what Lighthouse is and what we do is we serve families living through childhood cancer at beach retreats, where we create environments for them to experience joy, to rest, to restore their relationships, and to find hope in God. And a major part of our mission is that we utilize volunteers, and we call them family partners, to serve them for a week. So in order for those volunteers or those family partners to come be with us, they have to raise support like a mission trip. And their dollars go towards supporting our program of putting families in the sand, like we say. So we have had a lot of success with Mobile Cause just this year alone. We've been around for 16 years. We've been doing retreats for families for 16 years, and this is by far our most impressive season to date. Just a note that I heard this morning in a meeting is that we have received more donations, more actual number of donations this year than we have in past years. So that's something really great that we're celebrating at Lighthouse right now. But something that's worked incredibly well for us is peer-to-peer fundraising. So each volunteer gets the chance to create a Mobile Cause page that they will share with their network, share with their friends and family, share with their peers, coworkers, and that they will solicit donations to come and serve at Lighthouse. So we are a family mission trip. Kids from all ages and adults of all ages can come and serve. So that's a big part of what we tell our story. So the way that we do that is by storytelling and by equipping our volunteers with just enough information to be dangerous. That's a very common phrase that we use around here at Lighthouse. We want to be very transparent about what their dollars are going to. We want to be transparent about the way that they're spending their dollars. And so the way that we do that is we do an organized training for every volunteer that comes through our organization. So whether they can sit with us in person or whether they do a virtual training, we get the chance to train them to talk about our organizational mission and overview. We share with them our strategic goals. We share with them our vision for the future. We share with them what our year in 2015 was like. But we also share with them a missional overview, so what it looks like that we are the Lighthouse together. And we also train them to use this peer-to-peer fundraising platform so that they are fully equipped and ready to go as they are leaving the training. We want them to leave the doors of the training equipped and ready to raise money and ready to serve on a retreat. Another thing that we do is we ask them to customize their page. We are really big about story at Lighthouse Family Retreat. If you've known anyone that's gone through cancer, especially pediatric cancer, there's a story attached to it. And so we get the opportunity to serve those families. So even if a family has never served with us before, we want them to tell their story about why they want to serve. So whether it be that this is their children's first mission trip, this is the first opportunity that they have to serve together, or they're cancer survivors themselves and they're giving back in this way, or if they've served with us for 15, 12, 10 years, we want them to tell their story on their page. So we create custom content for them, but 9 times out of 10, they will completely erase that and write their own story that they'll share with their friends. We want to make sure that we're explaining what their gifts are going to. We have a minimum amount of money that they have to raise to come and serve on a retreat, but we encourage them to raise a $5,000 goal. We encourage them to set their goal at $5,000. That $5,000 we call a family sponsorship. So if this family raises $5,000, they can bring a family living through childhood cancer to the beach. That's how much it costs for us to bring them to the beach, for their housing, for their meals, for all the activities. So we encourage them to set it at that goal so that they are directly raising money for the family that they will serve. So we make sure that we're very transparent about that. We are very honest about that. We also include a guide for them. They receive it as soon as they're accepted to serve. We send them a toolkit of ideas, of ways that they can raise money, proven methods that we've seen from past volunteers. So these include anything from garage sales, book sales, bake sales. We've had some moms do a fun run with moms in the neighborhood with the strollers. We've seen teenagers put flamingos in neighbors' yards and say, we're not taking this flamingo out of your yard until you donate $5 to my campaign. So we've seen a lot of really interesting and neat ideas, and we compile those at the end of the year and put them into a toolkit for other volunteers to use. We also create a journal framework for them to tell their story after the retreat. So like I said, they have to raise a minimum to come and serve with us, but we want them to keep fundraising all year round. We want to create raving fans, as we say at Lighthouse. We want to encourage people to fall in love and to be passionate about it, just like we on staff are. So we create a framework for them to journal and to tell their story of their Lighthouse experience. And then when they return home from their trip this summer, they'll have the opportunity to go to their mobile cause page and edit their experience to reflect the after effect, to reflect what it was like to actually be there, and encourage their friends and family to keep giving throughout the year, and to become raving fans of Lighthouse. And we always want to bring it back to the mission. Everything we do at Lighthouse, every dollar that we raise, every word that we say, every piece of content that we write comes back to our mission, which I mentioned earlier is to serve families living through childhood cancer at seaside retreats by creating environments where they can laugh, where they can experience joy, rest, restore relationships, and find hope in God. And so everything we do points back to that. Everything we do comes to that tip of that arrow. So as families are telling this story, they can bring it back to the mission so that when they're going out and asking their friends and family and asking their network for donations, for support, they are armed with that knowledge. They are armed with our strategic vision, which is to serve 10,000 families living through childhood cancer. Every volunteer that we know has that vision. We have a vision to expand our retreats, to do more every summer, to do more every season. So we want to make sure that everyone is armed with that information so that they're never wondering what Lighthouse is up to as they're raising money. So it's been a great opportunity for us to just empower volunteers. I'm sure that you all know in crowdfunding or in nonprofits that you have those rock stars, you have those volunteers, those people that are just so passionate about what you're doing. And we've figured out a way to just empower those people and to send them out and to let them leverage their personal networks to help us achieve success. And so we just want to channel that energy, and we just want to let them to tell their story and share their impact and just be a part of what we're doing at Lighthouse. We invite them into that and let them go crazy, if you will. We let them tell their story. We let them share the impact. We invite them to do silent auctions and to do bake sales and to just be a part of what we're doing, because we're only a staff of 9, but we'll have over 1,300 volunteers this year. So we have to figure out a way to leverage them, and peer-to-peer fundraising has been the best way for us to do that.
This is great, Tori. Thank you so much. And I think this is a great addition to help, add further detail to what Salvador was talking about in terms of, creating assets, doing training, really motivating everybody by, really telling the story and making it clear what the mission is. Again, as you mentioned at the end, that, you're a small staff. And so for those that are listening that are wondering, how can I possibly do all of this? just, how much time even just in setting it up through Mobile Cause? Like how easy was it for you all to do?
Oh, it was it was a breeze. It's me and one other person on our staff who kind of focus on this, and Mobile Cause has been the best platform for us because we can kind of set it and forget it. If you want to use that kind of language, we are able to build in content that they can use that's our own language. And just using the crowdfunding tool through Mobile Cause has been so easy. We set up teams so that every retreat has a team. They're working toward a goal, and they get to see that goal. So Mobile Cause has been a great help to us, and our customer success agent has been an even bigger help to us than I think she realized she would be. But she's been a great help, and we've just seen tremendous success, in this year alone with Mobile Cause.
That's great to hear. And, and how many hours does it really take? Like, is this like sort of the smallest piece of the entire, setting up and managing a crowdfunding campaign?
Oh, it's so easy. It's so easy. We go in, we check it every day to see how our numbers are doing for each team. And it's so easy for our volunteers to set up. Like I mentioned, we have volunteers from all ages, from 4 to 84 to 94. And I had a volunteer tell me, she was like, if I can set this up, anyone can. So we literally just sent out a link to our network, to our volunteers. And just, it was so easy. We said, join this team, and they joined the team, and it's been easy peasy ever since. It took maybe 3 hours to set this up at max.
That's fantastic. And now, in terms of trying to figure out what kinds of content to arm them with, how did you kind of go through that process?
So we put our mission statement on everything, and so we encourage them to tell their story. So we say, I'm going down to the beach. This is the content we put for them, but I'm going down to the beach to serve a family living through childhood cancer. This is why my family is serving. And we leave that blank open for them. We give them the opportunity to fill that in for themselves. And we bring, like I said, we bring it back to the mission statement, and every single fundraising page will have that on there. So it's never a guess of what we're doing.
And you talked a lot about storytelling, and I think this and Salvador mentioned this as well, and this is, very much of a recurring theme in our webinars because, stories really engage people, and I know this is a big part of what you all do. So, if you could tell us a little bit about, some of your top tips for the, the storytelling process and for fostering it.
Right. So the framework that we've actually built out for our volunteers is very faith-based. So we ask them to write out their 3 high moments and their 3 low moments. We know that it's going to be hard, so we ask them to write those out. We ask them to share their favorite memory from their Lighthouse trip. We ask them to share where they saw God move on the retreat. We ask them to share 3 names of people that stuck out to them, that were memorable to them. And we also ask them to share what they would tell someone who's interested in Lighthouse. So we've built out this framework for them. It's a part of a journal that they get on their retreat to tell the story, because we know that some people aren't going to tell the story exactly like we would on staff. And we actually value that. We value that people have different experiences with childhood cancer. People have different experiences with Lighthouse. So we build it out the best we can with blanks and suggestions. But for the most part, we want them to tell their own individual story. We had a volunteer on an earlier retreat this year who had never been to Lighthouse before. And she was a childhood cancer survivor herself. She was an adult, but she was able to tell what it was like for her family going through childhood cancer on her fundraising page. So she shared this with her personal network, and she was actually our biggest fundraiser for that week because she shared her personal story. So we encourage people to do that. We encourage people to just channel their passions into what we're doing.
Fantastic. And now, how do you tie sort of the storytelling to the crowdfunding, right? I mean, are you, using Mobile Cause and everyone's crowdfunding sort of pages to encourage that? How are you connecting the two?
So we encourage folks to reach towards that $5,000 goal, like I mentioned, because the retreat families, the families that we serve living through childhood cancer, they come to the beach at no cost. So the second their toes hit the sand, we like to say that everything is covered. So we connect the story to that family. So each family partner, the reason we call them that, is paired directly with the family living through childhood cancer. So they can say on their Mobile Cause page, by helping me get to $5,000, you are helping me bring a family living through childhood cancer to the beach. This is what that number means. This is what it's going to mean for me to serve this family. This is what it's going to mean for that family. And this is what your money is going to help us with our mission.
And I think that's just fantastic. And so really, what you're doing is making it extremely easy for those family partners to spread the word. And so do you recommend that, because that's what you call them, family partners, do you recommend that everyone kind of create a sort of a name for their peer-to-peer volunteers, such as you've done? How do you recommend people think through that?
Yeah, so we're really big on culture at Lighthouse. And honest to goodness, we used to call them volunteers, and then we just started thinking that they were so much more than that. So we called them family partners, and we actually have a full vocabulary list that we send out to our networks of what we are. Culture, we found, is huge, and people adopt that and they catch on to that. So whatever part of your organization that is unique to you, establish a culture around it. Name it something, give it a purpose, change the vocabulary, because people will catch on to something that's different, because people want to be involved in something that's unique to them. And so by calling people family partners instead of just volunteers, we are automatically elevating them to something more than just a volunteer. We're elevating them to someone who pairs up with a family living through childhood cancer. We're elevating them to someone who carries burdens, who does the work, who does the hard stuff, and that's so much more than a volunteer in our eyes.
Fantastic. Now, do you have any sort of, final thoughts, like based on everything that you've, experienced and presented, is there a big takeaway that, if anything, people listening should learn and can get from this?
Just honestly, my biggest piece of advice is to just arm people with information. Let them know what you're doing. Let them know what your strategic goals are. Let them know what your mission is, and just send them out to tell their version of the story. Sometimes we're called different things than what our actual name is. Sometimes people use the wrong words to describe what we do. And sometimes it isn't the exact message that we would create for ourselves, but it is unique to the people who are passionate about us. And we get the privilege every day to work with people whose passions that we get to channel into something incredible. And so we get the chance to arm them. So we just want to arm people with information, arm them with the right verbiage, and send them out to tell their story. And we're a resource available for them.
Terrific. And now one last question. In regards to working with Mobile Cause, what would you recommend, what would you say to everyone that's, considering, working with Mobile Cause or a platform like Mobile Cause and getting into mobile, what are your top tips for how to proceed?
The social media piece has been essential to us. The fact that family partners can share their personal page directly to their Facebook, and it's 2 clicks away. They click share, and then they click the little Facebook icon, and then it's there for their friends. And so that's been a huge piece for us. Kind of like Salvador mentioned, if it's on your news feed and you see it a couple of times, you're going to notice it. The text to give portion has also been so cool for some of our family partners. One example that we've seen this year, I mentioned the high school students who put flamingos in people's yards, and they put their personal text to give keyword on the flamingo with a note that said, "This flamingo is staying here until you give to my campaign." So the text to give portion has made it so easy for people. Utilize it to your best ability. We not only use it for crowdfunding, but we use it for our events. We use it for other speakers that speak on our behalf. The text to give function has truly changed the way that we're able to get as many donations as we've had.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tori. This is great. And everyone, please, continue to keep your questions coming in. We're going to get to questions just in a few minutes here. So if you have questions specifically for Tori, feel free to send them in. Thanks again, Tori, for your time, and we'll be back in a moment with our roundtable. But next up, I want to introduce my colleague Lindsay Newman, who's going to talk to us about social media crowdfunding. Welcome, Lindsay.
Hi, Chris. Thank you. So today I'm going to tell you guys about social media. As you've heard from a few of our presenters already, social media is absolutely essential for crowdfunding campaigns. It is one of the things that we see is a big determining factor of success for a lot of our organizations. So I want you guys to start thinking of your social networks as your own dedicated crowd. So every single one of your followers is a potential fundraiser. So just think about that for a second. You have, 4 social networks probably that you're posting on. You can see the icons right here. We have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And everyone that interacts with your content on those channels, is someone that can potentially be a fundraiser for your cause. And if not a fundraiser, they can be a donor. So we have kind of like the two-pronged approach here that Sal was talking about in the earlier part of the presentation. As we said, storytelling is a huge part of a successful campaign of any kind, but especially for crowdfunding, you really want to tell your story and tell people why it's important that they join you in crowdfunding for your cause. So you want to appeal to their hearts and to their minds. You want to share your story, but you also need to explain why you need them to get involved, why their participation and why those donations are so important. So this leads us to the first of our tips. You want to ask for their participation across all your social networks. If you're not asking for participation from these donors and from these supporters, you're really missing out because you have these people, like I said, they are your own dedicated crowd. They are a captive audience, so to speak. And if you don't ask for it directly, you might never get it. So if you want people to participate and become fundraisers on your behalf, if you're looking to do the more peer-to-peer aspect, ask them to sign up. Tell them how to sign up. If you want just donations, ask them for those donations and be sure that you are linking to your donation page. A really easy way to do this is to utilize keywords and links for easy promotion across channels. So at Mobile Cause, we have a really great solution for this. It's our text message keywords. And what this does is it allows people to text a keyword to a short 5-digit phone number and instantly receive a link to either donate or sign up. And all these people that do this are also automatically added to your subscriber list, so you can add or you can send them messages later on in the campaign. So when you're creating images, keep this in mind. So you're going to want to post images across all your social media channels, right? These images should be bold, they should be eye-catching, they should be compelling. If it's something like Tori's organization at Lighthouse and they're going on a retreat to the beach, post pictures of that retreat. Show them how beautiful it is and what an amazing opportunity it's going to be. If you're posting a video, same thing. But for video, we want to keep things short and sweet. So instead of having, a big, long 5-minute video that's telling every single thing about your campaign, think about it as a bite-sized snack as opposed to a full meal. So what you want to do is tell people the main reasons why they should care. So we've talked about educating donors before, and I think I saw a question come through about what's the easiest way to actually educate these donors. This is where that comes in. You want to tell them all the reasons why they should care, why their donations are important, and why your organization is doing what you do. So if you can fit that into a video that's, say, a minute long, that would be great. You just want to hit those key points right across the board, and that way people are they're more likely to share videos that are much shorter as opposed to something that's longer. I know you guys have probably heard us talk before about something that's viral, right? So viral content is a big, one of those keywords that you hear tossed around, but something that's viral is going to be something that's short, sweet, and to the point. So that's those shorter videos are definitely going to be more effective. In terms of content as well, one of the main things that you want to focus on is putting that call to action in there. So a video is great, but if you don't have a call to action at the end, again, you're missing out on a great opportunity to tell people and compel people to either sign up or fundraise on behalf of your cause. So You want to encourage your audience also to further their participation. So you have this audience, say people are sharing, they're liking stuff, they're commenting on your posts, perhaps they've even donated themselves, but now you want them to get their own personal networks involved. That can be both in-person networks in terms of friends, family, colleagues, as well as their social networks. So as you're posting these images and videos and donation asks and asking people to sign up within your own personal social network, you're also going to want people to share those posts as well. So simply ask people, again, leads back to our first point. You have to ask for that participation across your social networks. Ask them to share your posts with their friends and family. Ask them to ask their own personal networks to sign up and to fundraise on your behalf. It's something it sounds easy, and it is easy, but it's something that you actually have to do and have to make a point of doing in order to increase participation and to really grow that donor base, as we've discussed. So another part of your social media strategy for your crowdfunding campaign should be to update your network with your campaign's milestones along the way. This is another huge component that is really a determining factor for the success of your campaign. If you're not telling people how much money you've raised, they're just not going to know. And if you're telling people, hey, we've raised $10,000 at this point, our goal is $15,000, that's only $5,000 left, who can make a donation to help us support this goal and to help us do whatever the great thing that your crowdfunding campaign is trying to do? If you're telling people that and you're delivering that message to them, they're going to be way more likely to comply with what you're asking of them. So a couple things to note to your followers would be things like money raised so far, number of volunteers signed up. Let's say you've set a goal you're trying to get 50 volunteer fundraisers to sign up to fundraise on your behalf from their personal networks. Be sure you're communicating that to your followers. You also want to communicate the days left in your campaign to create that sense of urgency, like Sal was talking about, all those psychological factors that really drive people to take action and motivate people to participate. Anything like that, just be sure that you are delivering that in the message on your social network. And this will also be something that will give you more content to post along the way. So you might feel like, oh, I'm posting a little bit too much. I would argue against that and say if you feel like you're posting too much, you're probably doing a great job. You actually may even want to be posting more. As I say in the last point here, you want to post often because they won't all be seen. So if you're delivering those milestones and you are sharing these asks with people and sharing your video content and your photo content, not all of that is going to be seen by everyone. Facebook has a really tricky algorithm where a lot of posts actually get hidden and your followers probably won't see even half of the posts that you're posting. So the more you're posting, the better. A good rule of thumb is once a day on every channel, especially Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You're probably not going to have YouTube content to post every single day, although that would be great if you did, obviously. And then try to vary your message across your channels. So don't post the exact same thing in the exact same way on all of your channels. Try to vary what you're saying, maybe throw a milestone in on Tuesday on Twitter and, update that milestone further later in the week on Facebook. Because people that are involved with your organization are going to be interacting with your brand on these different touch points across all of these channels. So it's good to just kind of vary the message a little bit and then things don't get stale either. And so basically, here, I'll click over, there we go, to our example over here. So basically the cadence that you should be posting in is post something with a clear-cut example of what your organization is trying to do. So as we see here, help us raise $8,000 for new year. Text Lancers 15 to 71777. So we have the clear-cut example, and we have that call to action at the end that's really strong and is really going to help you drive your goal upward. And once people do text that, they'll get the link, they'll land on your page. They can either make a donation or become a fundraiser, and then they can donate. And you can see these are all examples of Mobile Cause forms right here, this link and the donate example, and it's just a really simple, easy way to increase donations and to drive participation for your crowdfunding campaign.
Terrific, Lindsay. Thank you so much. And everyone, we've got some great questions. So we will transition to Q&A. We'll go a couple of minutes past the hour if everyone can stick around. Again, we are recording the webinar, and we will be sending out a link via email. So the email that you registered to attend this webinar, just keep your eyes on your inbox, and you'll be getting a link along with a copy of the presentation so you can review and share with others. We'd recommend that you do all of that. So first up, love to throw a first question back to Salvador, and I think Lindsay addressed this a little bit, but there was a question about how often do you ask, right? Mm-hmm. And what's your recommendation on sort of the ratio of posting content like Lindsay's talking about versus an ask? How often do you ask versus giving content?
That's a really good question, and that's something where I see a lot of first-time nonprofits that go on social media will tend to spam the same message too much. I know that's not what she said necessarily, but one of the things to keep in mind, I think, is that social media is inherently social. When you think about that word social, it's all about discussion. So if you go to a cocktail party, you're not just going to be handing out your business card to everyone, asking people to check out whatever it is you're doing, asking them for something. First, you're going to do something for someone else. You're going to start a discussion. It could be a video that makes people aware of your cause. It could be sharing something interesting that your donors might find entertaining. It could be sharing quotes. But I think that a good rule of thumb is when you're trying to get people to do something, if you have 5 pieces of social media content, 5 tweets, of those 5 things, only one should be a direct ask. That one thing could be, hey, check out my crowdfunding campaign. But I think the other 4 things should not be asking someone directly to do something. It could be celebrating a victory. Hey, we just hit this milestone. It's awesome. You take a picture of your office or maybe something that one of the people you're going to be helping has sent in saying thank you guys so much for doing this fundraiser for us. Something that's not just a direct ask, I think, is the right way to do it. If you're just going in that indirect route, I think there's no limit to the amount that you can post in that way. But when you keep posting links, what I consider spam, to your campaign, keep making that direct ask, it comes off as very needy. And the reason that people are turned off from neediness is that you're only thinking of yourself. When you first, though, seek to develop a relationship using the social aspect of social media, start a discussion, people are more receptive when you then just self-promote. And I mean, that's the strategy I've used. I have, over 100,000 followers on Twitter with various accounts. With my email list, I use that to develop rapport. I have over 10,000 email subscribers. I built a forum with over 6,000 members. The goal here is first thinking of the other person, how to entertain them, how to share something inspirational, and then that 1 in 5 ratio, then you can ask directly. That's my thoughts on that.
Terrific. Great. Well, and now next question to Tori. How do you educate donors concisely, right? I mean, especially in mobile formats, you don't have a lot of space. So the question was, many people say keep the message short, but sometimes it takes words to educate. Any suggestions there?
Sure. We try to keep all of our fundraising messages under 300 words. So if we can't encapsulate what we're doing at Lighthouse in under 300 words, then we need to rethink the way that we're telling those stories. So I keep mentioning it, but we always bring it back to the mission statement. And we try to, when we're telling family partners about what to tell their friends, we talk about the programs that we offer. We talk about the benefits, and every now and then we'll throw in a quote from somebody, because oftentimes direct quotes from someone who's experienced it is more impactful than a number. So keep it under 300 words, keep it simple, keep it short, keep it to just a long paragraph, and then keep it to be something that they can relate to, something impactful, like a quote or a story instead of a fact.
Terrific. And now here's sort of another question, sort of just a very more tactical question in terms of fundraising. Somebody asked about monies raised being tax deductible, and how do you handle some of that kind of stuff in terms of IRS and tracking, and how does Mobile Cause help you to do some of that? This is to you, Tori.
Oh, yeah. So we are able to export all of the donations that we receive through Mobile Cause, and we actually run it through a merchant account, and that merchant account is run through our bookkeepers, and we run a lot of our information through Infusionsoft, which is a CRM software. And so we're able to keep track of who all is donating, and our bookkeeping team is able to keep track of who donates what, so that at the end of the year, since we are a 501c3, all of those donations that have come through our merchant account are able to receive tax deductible letters.
Terrific. And now I want to just to elaborate a little bit more on that. I'm going to throw it to Jeremy in terms of product and integrations. Maybe you can address some of that kind of stuff, both, what do we kind of integrate with from a Mobile Cause standpoint? How easy is it? Some recommendations there, because people may have questions about that.
Yeah, most definitely. There are actually two ways to use a Mobile Cause account. The preferred way is that Mobile Cause actually provides no-cost merchant services, and the reason why this is important is because all recurring donations, your organization name will show up on the credit card statement of the donor. And then the second reason is when you have a merchant account set up, when somebody makes a donation through a Mobile Cause form, it automatically goes into your bank account within 24 to 48 hours as it's cleared. The traditional way, the second option, is to receive checks and to export data from Mobile Cause into your specific CRM. A really awesome feature that Mobile Cause provides that none of the speakers have brought up is we actually have automatic tax receipts available. So, for example, all of the people that donate to your cause can automatically receive a branded tax-deductible receipt via email instantaneously, as well as a text message confirmation when their donation has been processed. Additionally, when they set up a recurring donation, if their card expires, the Mobile Cause system actually sends out an automatic text message to them letting them know that their card is expired with a link so that they can update their records. We try to make the most general level, Mobile Cause does everything in its power to integrate with all CRMs, with keeping full in mind that the donor experience is of the most first priority.
And how, Jeremy, just and we'll throw out a link to everybody if they want to get more information specific to Mobile Cause. Again, those of you that are just starting with Mobile Cause, your customer success manager is a fantastic resource. Continue to leverage them. For those that want to learn more, Jeremy, we'll send out a link to everyone. There's also a ton of resources at mobilecause.com/resources. And a quick question here, I just see a CRM is customer relationship management. So many people are using CRMs to track all of their donors' contact information. That's essentially what a CRM is for you.
One more thing that I'd love to kind of add that I've actually not brought up yet on a webinar is we just released the ability to put thank you videos right on the thank you pages, which is really cool. So, for example, if somebody were to donate to Lighthouse and complete a donation, there literally could be an autoplay video that immediately plays of Tori saying, "Thank you so much for your donation. Meet this little girl. Her family's going to get to put their toes in the sand this summer." With your social media links right below it. Here at Mobile Cause, we're just constantly trying to increase the donor experience to maximize your ability to do good and raise money.
And everyone, Lindsay just posted a couple of links. So one, an easy way to engage with us to get more information specifically on how Mobile Cause can work for you. And secondly, I'd encourage everyone, if you haven't been there already, to access our resource library. There's a ton of fantastic infographics, more webinars, and a whole bunch of other resources for you. We're running out of time, but I did want to get one more question into Lindsay. And for everyone that's, kind of like, we talked a lot about social media, but you may be wondering, how do I, I don't have a huge presence right now, and how do we grow our presence in social? So, Lindsay, I think, thoughts on how do people get a bigger following in social?
Right, totally. So I think one of the best ways to do that is with the content we were talking about. Now, that doesn't have to be content, obviously, just for your crowdfunding campaign, but just post relevant content. Tell people what you're doing, keep them updated, and then I'm sure a lot of you have email lists that you're sending to. Be sure to post the links to your social networks on your email, or ask people directly in your email, hey, please follow us to stay up to date with us with our daily updates. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram. Just be sure you're linking people to those social networks, and that's probably the easiest way to grow your following.
Terrific. Well, thanks again, everyone. We've kind of run up against our time, and I want to give Jeremy one final thought to leave everyone with. Jeremy?
Yeah, thank you everyone for attending. I just want to just go out there and say point blank, we are here to ensure that everybody on this call and as many nonprofits in America that want to go out and use crowdfunding are able to do so quickly and easily. All the tools and solutions that you've seen here today, we literally can get set up for you today. Call the number here on screen or go to this link to request a demo. And our team of customer success experts will actually set up a mock campaign for you, and so that you can see your brand, your story, and so that you can click and feel and share with your board so that you can get out and use these solutions for campaigns this spring and this summer. Thanks for your participation today, and all of you, good fundraising.